Hey, how's it going? And welcome to Whiskey Wins with me, Stuart. Hope you're all well tonight. Hope you've all got a drink in your hand, possibly something independently bottled, because Stevie and I are going to try and discuss some points, have a little drink, have a little chat, and try and discuss independent bottles. So yeah, we'll get Stevie in, we'll get the intro started, just so it feels a little bit familiar. Yeah, so that intro just gets stuck in my head now, so I need to play it every time. But yeah, we'll get Stevie right in straight away. I think he might have mixed up some of his whiskies, but hopefully he's got that sorted now. Currently, all I have in my glass is a Glenelgan from Carnmore. It is, I'm trying to think what age it is. I think it's 11-year-old, but it's sherry anyway. So yeah, we'll get Stevie in. Hello, how's it going?
You caught me. Aye, I sussed out my whiskey choice. So I managed to
found it. So
yeah, well, I tried to do a distillery bottling and an independent bottling, and I poured them a wee while ago just to let them sit, and then I'm looking at them going, right, which one's which now? But I've sorted.
Get a bit muddled up. So there's a few people in the chat already. We'll say hi to them. So there's Gibby. We've got Tony in, we've got Steve Whiskey Breyer, we've got Willie, Malt Punk, we've got Whiskey Bond Mark, we've got Jim, we've got Neil Laverty, Mark, and Frankie, who's it's his first time live. Oh, it's good to have you, Frankie. We're going to be discussing independent bottles, so hopefully you've got a dram of an independent whiskey. Yeah, so we've got 14 people so far, so I think we'll just get right into it. I don't think there's much more introductions needed other than this is Stevie, who is my, what would you call yourself? My almost father-in-law, my sort of father-in-law.
Yeah.
We've got Jimmy Jazz in as well, if I'm lucky, yeah. So I think, first of all, we were going to say what our three current favourite independent bottlers are. And I'll let you go first and put the pressure on you. And if everybody's in the chat has got a favourite three or anything like that, just put it in the chat and we'll discuss it.
Okay, so yeah, you really put me on the spot. You'll need to correct me if I'm wrong. So, in the last year, I've become particularly interested in Carnmore. I think some of the whiskies they're bringing out now. I mean, they've actually been around quite a long time, but in the last year or so, they just seem to be going off like a rocket. Quite a fan of Douglas Lane, as you know. I've got quite a few different bottles. Douglas Lane. I'm quite interested in how they blend some whiskies. So I never used to be a fan of blends, but things like Timorous Beastie, Scallywag, I've got a few variations of them and a few different ages of them, and yeah, I think they're great. And then I think you have to recognise, well, before I say who it is, it's the oldest independent bottler in Scotland.
Right.
Started, I think, in 1848.
Let me just have a look at this.
And that would be William Cadenhead's.
Yeah.
So
that's the t-shirt I've got on at the moment.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And here's Churabaki's walk.
How'd you get one?
For joining the Cadenhead club. It's Churabaki's walk, so he's a bit excited.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I really like the. Well, quite a few. We did a tasting from Cadenhead's. I've done it a couple of times, and yeah, you get some surprises. So I would say they're probably my three at the moment.
So Cadenhead, Carnmore, and Douglas Lane.
Yeah,
that's a good mix. Willie says at the moment his favourite indie bottles have all been drank, and he says Carnmore are definitely up there, spectacular bottles. over the last several years. And they have. I think Carnmore's up there for me, and I think Carnmore will be up there for mostly everybody will be up there with it. They've been releasing some absolute crackers recently, and yeah, there's no really competing with them at the moment. But I'd probably say Carnmore.
I don't know what's changed with them. That's whether, yeah, I don't know what's different.
I know they dropped one of the partners. It was Morrison and Mackay, and I think they dropped the Mackay part. So I'm not sure if that's got something to do with it, or if they've been able to get a hold of better casks, or what the script is there. But I'm sure someone will know.
Yeah, I used to remember always seeing them. So wee services on the way up to Pitlochry where we stop, and there's a wee whiskey bit inside the shop, and they always had a few Carnmores, but in the sort of wooden. Well, I'm talking a good few years now.
Like Celebration of Cask or something.
Yeah, aye, that's that. And I used to see them and never touched them, and then just in the last year and a half, they just off like a shot.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think when they came out with that Mortlach and the Ben Nevis release specifically, that kind of batch, it just seemed to blow up. But yeah, for me, Carnmore's definitely up there. Like you said, Cadenhead, and probably, I've got so many. I actually had one in my head, but now I've completely went blank. But probably AD Rattray, what they've been releasing recently, good prices, good pricing, and just kind of obscure whiskey, not the normal whiskey that everybody's drinking. So it's quite good to see them have an array of different whiskies. But I think definitely mention Weems as well with their blending, just as you mentioned blending earlier with Douglas Lane. Their blending's been unreal, and their pricing specifically has been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I've only ever had two Weems malts. We'll maybe talk about it later on, just as part of the same conversation. Fantastic. I haven't tried any of their other ones other than these two that we'll talk about later on. What about the wee square bottles you've got?
The single cask limited, I think they're called. Yeah, the bottles are cool. I quite like the look of them. Some people don't like the look of them. But I think they can be on a little bit of the pricey side, and some of them have been a hit and a miss. Whereas with like say with Carnmore, there's not been one recently that I've had where I've been like that's been terrible. So it's kind of been a win-win. But yeah, the single cask ones aren't bad. I would recommend trying some of them, but it's obviously doing your research and picking something that suits your flavour profile. A German independent bottle of Linkwood in the glass for me. That sounds great. Sent him some samples, no bother. Sent him the Velvet Fig 25-year-old, so hopefully he likes that, enjoys that. Willie's making a comment about SMWS. I've actually got a little surprise for later that Stevie doesn't know about, but I've got a surprise. Donner Pass Whiskey is saying, looks like the usual suspects are here. Hi, everyone. Yeah, usual suspects, and it is probably your first time seeing me live, but we have done several before, and usually Stevie's the main guest. I
was going to say, is when you say SMS, yeah. Yeah, them. It's been quite a while obviously COVID and stuff like that, but even before that, since we've been there. But anytime I've ever been there, and sometimes I struggle with cast strength whiskies. But anytime I've been there and spent an afternoon trying stuff, generally I've either come away buying something, or I've found something that I think, wow, that was. So I don't have. I've got a couple sitting somewhere, but I don't use them that much, and I haven't visited them for a while. But I do agree they have some good stuff.
Mark's just asking if I caught the live stream of Jim's independent bottlers with the Breathing. I didn't catch it. I'm wanting to catch up on it for sure. I need to catch it definitely. Mark's saying keep AD Rattray quiet. Yeah, I probably should, but I don't know how much influence I've got, so it's fine. Neil's asking how's the Tullibardine from the Whiskey Brokers. Well, Stevie isn't a big fan of cask strength whiskey, but you thoroughly enjoyed it, didn't you?
Yeah,
Sherry.
I was pleasantly surprised. I think, well, also Tullibardine, depending which one you have, can be a bit of a hit or miss for me as well. So I was quite surprised and enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the other Tullibardine you got, but I don't think you liked it.
What one was that? The official bottling?
Yeah, I don't think you were so keen on it.
No, the official bottling I really like. The 15-year-old, I really enjoy that. But the 14-year-old sherry one's just outstanding.
Which one had the really high strength?
It would be the 14-year-old from Whiskey Broker.
Yeah, that took me by surprise. I turned you down at first with that to say, probably too heavy for me, but it was absolutely stunning.
So Donner Pass is currently with Old Malt Cask, Old Particular, and Cadenheads from the Netherlands, and the Ultimate bottles have been quite good. Yeah, Old Malt Cask is one of my favourites. I really enjoy Old Malt Cask, 50% ABV, Hunter Lang, and Old Particular. I think Old Particular is Hunter Lang as well. But yeah, both them and Douglas Lang do quite good independently bottled whiskies as well as some blends. So what have you got in your glass currently, Stevie?
Well, what I thought I'd start out with is I've got Fetter Cairn in my glass, a distillery bottling 12-year-old at 40% just. But the reason I chose Fetter Cairn, I do like the flavour profile of it, but I've also got sitting here a Provenance independent bottling, also 12-year-old of a Fetter Cairn. So I'm going to try both to help the discussion about, and this probably isn't the best example actually, because in the case of this one, I actually prefer the distillery bottling to this independent bottle, which is quite unusual for me because usually so I went for that one first because it was the opposite of what I normally find.
Yeah, it's I suppose that's something as well. It's kind of the difference between independent bottled whiskies and official bottled whiskies. Like you said, that they two Fetter Cairns both bottled at 12-year-old. It makes you wonder how the whiskies from the same distillery can be so dissimilar, and how they can have such different flavours.
Well, I actually find with this one that I love the flavour profile, you know, the sort of tropical fruit flavour that you get in Fetter Cairn. You get it also in some of the Bladnocks and a couple of others. I really quite like that style of whiskey quite often. But what I found with this is that in the independent bottle, the tropical fruit characteristics are more faded into the background, and it's more of a more sort of coconutty, but less of the tropical fruit. But I really like the tropical fruit. So
So what you're looking for in the Fetter Cairn is that tropical fruit, and obviously the independent bottler is kind of maybe overlooked it, or maybe not really been looking for that flavour.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they did. Differently. Let's see what it says here. It's from one refill hogshead. The usual, no chill filtered, no colouring. But it brings us on to the interesting question, which is, well, one is what's people's opinion, indie versus distillery bottling, just as a simple, straightforward question. But then what's quite an interesting topic is to actually talk about how the results can be so different.
So varied. yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder in times that I think with independent bottlers, they have more creativity. It could be more flexible. Not maybe not necessarily more creativity, but they can be more flexible with the cask, with the distillate. In a sense, they can do what they want with it. Whereas, although distilleries could, if they wanted to be creative, be flexible, they tend to be rather conservative and try and stick to the same flavour profile that they know
They're
their
they're they're
consumers
they're
like.
look they're looking for consistency in a
Yeah,
in a core range, but but also I think you're right. They seem to have, like, independent bottlers seem to have more scope to experiment, which is bringing out uh, all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. It doesn't take anything away from the main distiller, but now you see some of them are bottling like single casks and stuff, and even distilleries have their core range, and then they're doing some experimental stuff. So obviously
yeah.
they see the value in not putting all their whiskey into the core, but doing some experimentation as well. And I wonder if that's inspired by the indie bottlers.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far back it goes and how if independent bottlers were kind of doing it kind of first, filling a gap in the market, if you will, that maybe official bottlings weren't providing,
Mm.
because most of the time they chill filter, they add water, they add colouring, all to maintain a nice consistent look and also to get more out their buck. So they're producing much more volumes than a little independent bottler who can just keep it chill filter, on chill filter, no added colouring, no water added, and they can just keep it limited, small, because they know no one, well, the people who are buying it don't really care.
Yeah.
Just going to look at a
Is there
few.
any? I was going to say, is there anybody in the chat got any thoughts on the topic?
So just a few here. Mark's saying he likes the Flora and Fauna. I believe that is Linkwood, but the Gordon
Yeah.
MacPhail one blows it out of the water. So with Flora and Fauna, I'm not sure, because is that not really an independent bottler in a sense, because it is still Diageo. It's almost an official independent bottling, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know what you would call them.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. Frankie's saying he has a bottle of Duncan Taylor Dimensions sherry cask, but he hasn't opened it. Well, I've got an Altmore sherry cask and it's fantastic. So it depends what distillery it is. Just let us know what distillery you've got. Willie's saying recently finished a 20-year-old Old Particular and Whiskey Exchange 21, Glenburgies, both. They were great. He prefers to go the indie route himself. Grew weary with official bottlings many years ago. Yeah, Willie's been a real pioneer of independent bottlers, and he's said to me time and time again that he believes his value, his money's more better going to independent bottlers.
I must admit, I do like Old Particular. I like, and I quite like I, whoever it is that does first editions. I can't remember.
I think that might be. I think first editions might be Hunter Lang as well. So Tony's saying he thinks some distilleries are too scared sometimes to try other things and always go back to what they know. Yeah, especially if they're good at it and it's something that sells. There's Barton. He's a bit late, but I suppose we can forgive him. Gibby's saying Dramfield's another one. Yeah, Dramfield's a good independent bottler that I haven't tried enough of. I've had a few here and there, but not enough.
Interestingly enough, my next dram is going to be distillery bottling Macallan and Dramfull bottling Macallan, because I find Macallan kind of same old all the time, and then the Dramfull one I tried, and I really enjoyed it.
27-year-old at what, £150 was it or something? £155.
Yeah,
I don't
something
think
like
you
that.
can claim
Yeah. Although I don't think it's
that.
fair for me to compare it to Macallan Gold, but I'm going to try.
No, maybe not. Not a kind of a Vatten. Donna Pass really enjoyed tasting Indie Sherry Distillery from a refill bourbon hogshead, 18 to 21-year-old cash strength, so you can taste the spirit character. Had Glengoyne and Tamdhu like that, really good. That's good. Indie bottlings, Mark saying, bring out the best in certain distilleries. Yeah, especially Ben Nevis and Kalila. I think Kalila have some good official bottlings, but nothing compared to the independent bottlings, and you can't really get much official
Okay.
bottlings of Ben Nevis at the moment.
So that maybe helps us with the other topic then while you're still reading them out. But what would be quite nice is, what I wanted to spend a bit of time on is, what do people think? That guy just hit it on the head there when he said indie bottlers produce a better end result. Has anybody any thoughts or comments on, what is it they're doing so differently that gets those results?
Yeah, so take Mark, for example, Kalia, Glenmurray, and Ben Nevis. Ben Nevis is a weird one because a lot of their stuff goes to Japanese malts, but they have got their 10-year-old batch one and their 10-year-old, and they are good whiskies. But definitely Glenmurray and Kalia, their official bottlings. I wouldn't really reach for a Glenmurray. I wouldn't really go and buy one because it's not something that really interests me. Whereas an independently bottled Glenmurray, I've bought one. Whereas I've never bought an What's that?
I was going to say you bought one.
I bought an independently bottled one, but I've never bought an official bottled one. It's the same with Kalia. It's not necessarily a distillery that I'd buy official bottlings from, but I'm always looking to have an independent bottle from them, which is curious. I wonder if anyone knows why these whiskies are so different and why distilleries just maybe don't hit the mark for some of us when it comes to their own whiskey.
What are the indie bottlers doing with that same spirit? I can understand, like, distilleries, they have a core blend to maintain, and that's fine. But what is it that they're doing with the spirit that the distillery isn't? And maybe it's just the case that the distillery isn't doing it because it's no part of its business model, or if it does do it, it needs to be small. But I've often wondered, like, if they take a coastal malt spirit away from the coast and store it somewhere else, all the things that distillery tell you that are important about the end result of the whiskey. I always wonder if even just moving it from one place to the other and storing it somewhere different, do these things all make a difference, or is it purely about wood finishes?
Yeah, because I think for me, if you were to take something like, say, I feel if you were to take something from the Highland, Speyside, Lowland, and move them all about and store them anywhere like that, they wouldn't really change the flavour. But if you took something like an Islay malt, say Bruichladdich, Bunnahabhain, or Kalia or something that's got a lot of sea salt. Most of them have the sea salt anyway. But something coastal, maybe even I think Old Pulteney, say next to the coast. If you took their casks and matured them in the mainland closer, where it's basically dry lock, there's no sea or anything, would that be influenced? Would that change the coastal side of things? I think it would. I think if you took the coastal side away, took it away from the coast, it would take the coastal flavours away. But whether that's true or not, I suppose it would be an interesting experiment.
What are people saying in the chat about it?
So Willie's saying some indie bottlers are recasking, which they do, yeah. Others conduct their own maturation from new make to bottle. I didn't really look at it that way. You're right. Some places do that. They get big, what they called IBMs, IBS, or whatever, big containers full of new make spirit and mature it themselves.
So they're not necessarily buying up casks from.
Aye, so I completely forgot. See, this is how we need people like Willie. But yeah, I forgot, like, because Whiskey Broker do it. They buy new make distillate, and they mature it their own way and they nurture it their own way. So others are just sniffing casks and others don't give a toss. Erwin's saying Indie Kalia doesn't get any better. Yeah, I completely agree. I've had a few official bottlings. I know you had that 17-year-old Stevie. I enjoyed that, but the indie bottlers are just. Mino just bought a 12-year-old 10-inch, however you say it, 10-inch, from Single Malts of Scotland, which is Elixir Distillers. Never understood why Diageo don't do more with this apart from the Flora and Fauna. Yeah, it's the same with Blair Athol for me. They have the 12-year-old Flora and Fauna. big fan of Blair Athol. And they have maybe their 23-year-old or whatever it is, ridiculously priced.
Yeah.
It's a great malt. Why don't they do more?
Yeah, it's kind of like Tormore as well. You get an independent, I mean, sometimes it can be hit and miss, but when you get a nice Tormore, it's a nice dram.
Donna's saying that Glen Murray special releases when Kirsty McCallan, Dr. Kirsty McCallan, that is, was there, are outstanding. 13-year Madeira cask and 14 and 13 years cask, really good. Nothing like the core range. Yeah, so I suppose they are almost extending into like a, maybe not trying to be like an independent bottler, but trying to explore more to kind of seize the market, to get more people in like us who are maybe less lenient or less likely to buy it.
I think Glenmoray I knew somebody that worked up there, and I think they were a bit more sort of set and stuck in their ways. But they've changed distillery managers a couple of times now, so I see they're doing some experimental stuff. So let's see.
Aye, it'll be interesting to see what comes in the following years. Mark's saying he would say better casks play a huge part. Yeah, it's probably definitely a lot of distilleries will be getting kind of tired casks in that. Morrison's invest heavily in superb sherry butts regularly. Ardmore, I think, shines as they tend to be matured and ex-Lefroy casks. Yeah, so they can do things like that. They can. You wouldn't necessarily see Ardbeg or someone like that, some big distillery saying, "Oh, we're maturing our whiskey in an ex-Lefroy cask," because it would probably damage their credibility. But independent bottlers have a creativity, a flexibility to do these type of things. It's a great point, Mark. Tony's saying he's got an independent bottle of 28-year-old Glen Murray, spent 18 years in Campbelltown, and then 10 years on Islay, and it's completely changed. Wow. Aha! So we've got an answer. It does make a difference. That's wow. So what's that? What's that bottle then, Tony?
Yeah.
Tony's a man of many mysteries. Jimmy, difficult to find much indies in Florida. Yeah, it's a shame being over in the US at times, with several reasons. Gordon and MacPhail, and that's the only big at the big box store. So don't get a lot of whiskey over there. The tariffs have just been lifted, luckily, but independent bottles over there, it's a bit of a shame.
There's some nice Gordon MacPhails as well. In fact, somebody was mentioning Koala. Shit, nearly dropped it. I spotted this when I was looking for something else, and I got it. It's been in a Hermitage cask for 1 year, first and refill bourbon. But look at the color. Look at the color of it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So I was quite intrigued when I read it. So yeah, that's going to get cracked. It's 14-year-old.
So just got some more things coming in. Just loving the participation. We got Matt saying lots of these big companies have huge markets which rely on whiskey for blends. Maybe they just want to keep their operations more streamlined and simple for that use. Yeah, you can see why it is a business at the end of the day. Bishop and Boyd says most Camellia will be matured in the Central Belt as a Diageo staple. It's the same with Lagavulin. We were doing the tour Islay last year or the year before, Stevie. And the grad student in our high-vis vest was saying it doesn't make a difference that it's matured in the mainland, and we were kind of saying, well, it might. She was reading off our clipboard, which is no issue in that, but it was a terrible tour for us. It felt too scripted. It felt too. Obviously, she was there making money, and that's fine as a student.
Well, they're just brought in for the summer, and
but it just felt a little bit impersonal.
Yeah, I always cringe a bit at those people who are in that through no fault of their own. They're trained the way they're trained. It's the same with some whiskey shops when they take on summer students in the or additional help in the summer and stuff like that. And you hear the guidance they're given to the tourists, and it's just I just cringe.
Yeah, so Bart's saying he gravitates to indie stuff for two reasons. One, a more raw presentation that a distillery would customize to fit their style. Yeah. And two, you get to try distillate that you like in a single cask or small batch. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Donner's a fanboy of Blair Athol. Yeah, lucky we've got so many independent bottles to look at. I'd say a lot of indie versus distillery bottles, you're comparing small batch, single cask to large battens, etc. Yeah, that's a great point. Whiskies that have all been kind of not blended but vatted together, compared to a single cask strength is a lot of different. And we've got the answer from Tony. It's a Skoma bottle from Germany. They've done the same with a 24-year-old Springbank, 14 years in Campbelltown, and then 10 years in Islay. It's changed a lot from the regular 24-year-old. So how do they release two different bottles so you can see the differences, or do you get a sample or something like that? Because that'd be quite interesting to see what the script is with that. Last comment for now, and then we'll get back to us talking. Mano saying Gordon MacPhail is getting more and more expensive. Yeah, I agree. They are getting a little pricey. Absolutely loved a lot of their CC range, even at 43%. But ever since the more premium presentation, losing connection with them a bit. But yeah, definitely. So that actually leads us right on to my next point that I was going to talk about is price comparison between independent bottlings and official bottlings. So independent bottlers used to be not necessarily the cheaper alternative, but the slightly cheaper alternative. But it seems as if that gap is closing. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's just, if you're seeing it as well, Stevie, if you're seeing independent bottlers slightly creeping up to a more official bottling price. There are a few out there, like I mentioned, the single cask can be quite expensive. Gordon and MacPhail, Lady of the Glen, they produce good stuff, but the prices can be a little high. Whereas you've got the other hand, you've got Whiskey Broker with their really cheap, I mean, a 25-year-old Tobermory for £80, and Tobermory are trying to sell their 20-odd-year-old whiskey for about £300, £400.
Yeah,
so it'd be good to get your thoughts on.
I've got another fantastic. I've got another fantastic example of it, and it's accidentally on purpose sticking with the Fetter Cairn. Just when you said that, last year when we were briefly allowed to move, we got a couple of weeks out in the van, and we went down that way, and I picked up a Fetter Cairn in there, aged 24 years.
Yeah.
Now, remind me, the 21-year-old Fetter Cairn is something like what, 200 quid, something like that. I can't remember.
They're 22-year-old.
Yeah, and here's a 24-year-old bottled at 51.5, and it was £86.
£86.
Yeah, in fact, I'm actually going to have some.
Aye, so yeah, I mean, a 24-year-old for £86, or a 22-year-old at £200 that's probably had chill filtration and colouring and
that's
yeah,
that's their 175th anniversary collection as well. So
the Cadenhead one, yeah.
So a special collection celebrating a big anniversary, but still they don't use the anniversary as a reason to wump up the price.
I mean, they changed the box. I know they put the 175 on there, so they've changed the presentation in the box and everything. They could have put up the price if they wanted to. But yeah, I need to post something as well. See what people are saying. So Steve Whiskey Brewer is saying Whiskey Broker, Cadenheads and Morrison's favourite indie and best for value. Yeah, I'd definitely say that Whiskey Broker, I've heard some people saying they've had a hit and a miss with Whiskey Broker, but the prices you're paying, you can't really grumble at it. J Jimmy owns, I think that's how you're, J Jimmy, what's your actual name? I'll just call you J Jimmy. He only owns 2 independent bottles, and I think one's a total mystery. One is a Gordon MacPhail Linkwood 15, the other is the classic cask Aberlour 12-year-old when in Bourbon Hogshead. That sounds very interesting. Bart's saying there's so much Kahlua flying around. but still most 9 to 12-year-old are sold for 90 quid or upwards by the independent bottlers. It's annoying. Still most 9 to, yeah, sold for 90 quid. Yeah, it's a little bit pricey. But I think with Islay, there comes a price tag involved with all Islay whiskies. Maybe not. In fact, no, I'm trying to think of one that there's maybe not, but most whiskies come with a premium. Islay whiskies come with a premium. Well, Stevie, I've got a surprise.
Yeah. I was going to say, what's worrying me more is that, well, if you take somebody like Carnmore and their whiskies they're bringing out between sort of 6 and 12-year-old, reasonably priced between 50, 70 pounds, something like that. But there's a lot of bottlers now putting out younger stuff, and gradually that younger stuff is getting more and more and more expensive, as they find more creative ways to make younger whiskey taste like older whiskey. So they're going. I worry about where that's going to go.
Yeah, I think in general the prices are going up with whiskey, but with independent bottlers, I'd hope for them to stay lower. And I think that's why I'm going to continue with the likes of Whiskey Broker and Carnmore and companies like that. Even Dornoch Distillery, Thompson Bros, they're funky label ones. I mean, they are £50 for a 5-year-old Campbelltown blend, which when you put Campbelltown on a whiskey, you can hike up the price, but I think that's well priced, £50, 5-year-old.
I think personally that's a crazy price for a.
Do you? For a 5-year-old?
Yeah, £50.
I suppose, but then again,
I do worry about where the pricing's gone, because if all the stuff at the bottom continues to grow in price, and it is, then they're going to make whiskey the drink for the privileged if they don't watch what they're doing.
I think the thing is, though, you could say £50 for a 5-year-old Campbelltown seems a lot because it's only 5-year-old. So Ardbeg's 5-year-old's £35 or £30, which is, yeah. But then look at their non-age statements. You don't know what age they are. And it's the same with all other non-age statements. You don't know what age any non-age statement is. And people pay ridiculous prices for a non-age statement. Whereas I think with having at least they've got a 5-year-old statement on there to certify that it's 5-year-old. I don't know. I think that's a decent price, and especially for the fluid that's inside it. But yeah, I think Thompson Brothers do price their whiskies well, and one of the reasons I buy their whiskies is because of the labels. I love their funky labels, and I've actually enjoyed their whiskey, which has been a plus. So this is my surprise, Stevie. It's my first ever bottle of one of these. Can you guess what it is?
It's your first ever bottle.
I don't know if anyone else will be able to guess.
And you had to get it from SM.
So you know what it is?
No.
So, sorry, Matt's just saying the new Bimber out tomorrow is 95 quid, which is the English whiskey, and I don't think that's got an age. This is my first ever bottle of an SMWS.
What is it?
It's called a newly built acoustic guitar. It's Regent's Highland, so I don't know if you're able to get it from Highland. I don't know if you're able to get it from it being me, it being a Highland whiskey, and it being independently bottled. I feel like that should be quite obvious. I'm sure someone in the chat will get it. Yeah, someone's already got it.
Is it a Tully Barden? Is it Tully Barden?
No. Willie's asking what the code is. I'll give you the code, Willie. It's 68.57. So we've already got a winner who's guessed what it is.
You can Google that.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to Google it. I know what it is, but yeah, Bishop and Boys got
a Blair Athol.
It's a Blair Athol. Hey.
What did you go for?
It's a 12-year-old Blair Athol, and it was only £50, I think, which is £55 or something. So Jason over at Malt Review, who writes for Malt, he is a member of SMWS, and he saw this up and he knew I like Blair Athol. So he asked if I wanted to purchase it. So I said yes. So he got that sent to my door. 58.4%, and I love the sound of a newly built acoustic guitar. One for Matt.
You love the sound of it, or you love the taste of a newly built acoustic guitar?
Well, I love the sound of it, but so what's Bart saying here? 3 days, unwashed penis left hanging in strippers' Tom knickers, or is it some other SMWS? Yeah, they do get a bit creative with their names.
Yeah. Granny's handbag on a windswept beach. Yeah.
Yeah, it's never been something that's attracted me to SMWS. The names are a cool idea, and the distillery codes are a cool idea, but it's never really been something that
They've got some cracking stock though.
So there we go. But distilleries are definitely catching up. I think Distell really found a way to take some of that indie market back by releasing all sorts of single casks themselves. Yeah, they did with Bunnahabhain and Deanston for sure. I don't know about Tobermory and that, but they definitely did for Bunna and Deanston. We all know age is no synonym for quality yet, but €80 and more for whiskies less than 10-year-old is downright taking the piss. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, so what, €80, like 70 odd pound or something.
So what he's saying is you got mugged for your 5-year-old Campbelltown blend.
No, he's saying more, £70 and more for whiskies less than 10-year-olds. So people will be buying whiskies, say £70 and more for whiskies less than 10-year-old.
Yeah.
So that, yeah.
I mean, you Google what you can get for 70 quid, and there's some very interesting stuff. A lot more interesting stuff than I would risk for something of that age.
Yeah, Gibby's saying that's not how you pronounce Bunnahabhain. No, it's not. This is a comment on one of my videos that's going to drop next week about how to pronounce whiskies.
Is it no Bunnahabhain?
Yeah, it is Bunnahabhain, but my video was a slight mistake. Yeah, so what's everybody still drinking, and is everybody happy with the prices of independent bottlings versus official bottlings?
Hang on a minute. You went to all the hassle of opening that box, bragging about your Blair Athy, and then you're not even going to taste it in front of us.
I've got it here. It's sitting. I need to let it open up, let it breathe. It's the first pour. Do you want to hear the tasting notes?
Yeah.
Wooden, stiff, and riddled with lean tannins. But give it time, and eventually this ridiculous dram will win you over with sheer force of charm. Jesus Christ. It's beautiful, isn't it?
We don't know. We've not tried it.
Some prices are ridiculous. I got a 28-year-old Springbank First Fill Sherry for €98 last year. Tony, please link me up to your supplier. Where are you getting this? Donna's been trying to find similar alternatives as things become hard to find expensive yet. For instance, the Ben Romac cask strength batch, when it's $65 US, is a great alternative to the Springbank 12 cask strength.
Oh, so there's a kick in the face. There's a kick in the face for you, Stuart.
So what's the price of Springbank 12 over in the US? The cask strength one. But yeah, I feel, I feel independent bottlers, some of them are closing the gap with official bottlings, and obviously it depends on the distillery, like we mentioned, like we touched on with Islay distilleries in particular, say Macallan, like big brands like that, ones that won't let you put the name on it as well. But I think there are distilleries that will keep it down, or sorry, independent down.
I think as long as people, and I quite like the model that Karen Moore's got, because they've got a different series for, let's call it different, let's call it more unique whiskies. So they've got the white box. Then they've got and I can't remember the name of them. There's one in the gold box. So what I quite like about their model is that if you can only afford this price bracket, then they've got some tremendous whiskies in that price bracket. If you're somebody with a wee bit more money that wants to pay for something a bit more rarer, then you can. But it's a choice. If what worries me is that the white boxes that are all £50 to £60 now, if they go the wrong way, then you're robbing people of the choice of getting on the. You're robbing them of getting the choice of being on the ladder in the first place. I can't hear a thing you're saying. Come in. Mark calling Orson. Come in, Orson. This is Whiskey Control. Come in. Over. Is the problem at your end, or can you hear me? Okay. So, if anybody else wants to message, hopefully I can see them on the screen. Then let's go solo without whimsy. What's everybody drinking in their glass just now? Oh, maybe I can't see the comments unless he. Stuart, can I only see the comments if you share them? Okay. I was asking people what was in their glass at the minute while you were sorting your technical issues out. Hey, you've not left me, have you? Well, for anybody out there, I'm on the Cadenhead Fetter Cairn. I quite like it, but interestingly enough, again, it's a bit more punchy because it's cask strength. The tropical fruit's still there, but a lot more wood influence on top of that. I was just talking about the Cadned's Fetter Cairn.
Yeah, I could definitely hear you. Bloody technology and Bluetooth headphones. So yeah, you were saying about the Carnmores, the white boxes maybe going slightly up in price.
No, what I wasn't meaning. I'm not saying theirs is going up in price. I was just meaning from a model point of view. They've got a range. They've got a range for different price brackets, and as long as people do that, then there's a whiskey for everybody. But if everything creeps up to the pricing of the next category and the next one goes up, then I'm worried that makes whiskey unaffordable for a lot of people.
Yeah, almost inaccessible. I think, but to do with that as well, I think a lot's to do with secondary markets like the auction and that people selling the limited ones off to the auctions, and maybe the company seeing the prices on the auction that they're going for and deciding, well, hey, if it's going for that in the auction, why don't we sell it for that? But I think Carnmore have got it spot on with the strictly limited, the celebration of the cask, and the family cask, as Steve's saying, for the real big spenders. It's pretty good that they have that outlet for people, and hopefully they keep it quite cheap and quite affordable.
Exactly.
No, I don't know sign language, so.
So you're trying to be all rock and roll with your Bluetooth earphones and stuff like that whilst you're advertising.
No, I'm just trying to be hip and down with the.
What are you getting paid by Cadenheads for wearing a t-shirt?
So they're paying me close to zilch, close to sweet FA. No. So you asked people what they were drinking when I was mute. Willie's got a Carnmore Ben Nevis 6-year-old. Is that the new one, the new release? That sounds interesting, and I've got a bottle reserved. Gordon MacPhail Clean Leash. Love a clean leash, nice and waxy. Frankie's having a Glen Scotia 15-year-old. It's superb whiskey to say the least. Yeah, it's a great whiskey. Stevie, just keep it going. You don't need me.
You've got the story, Shah, have you not?
Yeah, well, we all the group that we had in the whiskey chat, we ended up all buying it together off the recommendation each other, and it's fantastic. And Mark is sure rattling through it. Tony's got an SMWS 18 Glenmurray. How is it, Tony? As we've been talking about Glenmurray and SMWS, Bishop and Boy, he regularly gets a flinty note in Faircairn. Wonder if you get that the same,
okay.
Stevie?
Yep.
Lagavulin 9, Alan's got it cheap. Yeah, I've heard that's a good whiskey. I've never had it.
Yeah, don't talk to me about Game of Thrones whiskey.
I don't know if it's the Game of Thrones whiskey or if he's just saying he got it cheap, but yeah.
Sorry, I thought, yeah.
Mino's asking you to take him through the wall behind you, whilst I was muted, I hope.
Oh, I never saw it.
Yeah.
I never saw it. It would just be boring for everybody else.
Oh, Bart's drinking Nanny State from Brewdog, which is a low ABV beer. It's pretty much not alcoholic. Radek's in from Czech Republic and not Croatia.
Yeah, well done.
Evening, fellas. I'm tucking into a whiskey broker Ben Rinnes. It's mint 55.4. I love a Ben Rinnes. Enjoy Ben Rinnes whiskey, and I do like whiskey brokers, so I'm quite jealous of you. Tony's saying very good. He's never had a bad SMWS. Yeah, I mean, it's not something I reach for, not something I've had a lot of, but I've never really had a bad one. It's just for some reason it's not something I go into.
I think if you had a chance to go for an afternoon to the vaults or somewhere like that, I think you would quickly change your mind. I was surprised, and I'm not always a fan of. I can go in there and drink cask strength all afternoon. Well, the end result's not pretty, but I can do it, and I can come out of there going, I had some really good whiskies in that. So,
the malt cask is in, and so's Toro, Welsh Toro. So my next thing I wanted to talk about with independent bottlers and official bottlers, really, it links to both. Donner's away to watch Phil and Deepa. I've got no issue with that. They are so much more engaging than Stevie and I. So enjoy Phil and Deepa and tell them we said hi. Yeah, so the next point I wanted to go on to was, are people, and this is definitely for the chat and for yourself, Stevie, are people more likely to buy well-packaged, well-presented independent bottles, or does it even matter? Does it matter? If it looks like this, will you still buy it if it's just a label?
Oh man, you're asking the wrong person.
I know,
you're asking. Right.
I've been caught before.
I just picked up this Bunnahabhain here, right? I've been after it for a while. I think it's the last one available outside auction. And it's the Highland Laird. It's by the Bartels whiskey. And it's a series called Highland Laird. And I got it because my surname's Laird. But it's like a 26-year-old Bunnahabhain, and it's in tartan, it's in a wooden box. It's got a Highland guy on it, it's got my name on it. It's like, right, sold. So I mean I do think packaging it exists for a reason. It's there to draw you in, and I know it shouldn't be what guides you to it, but at the end of the day, your first impression is the packaging. So I think it's hard not to appreciate good packaging. I'm not saying it's right, but for me, I'm a sucker for a well-packaged whiskey.
Yeah, I suppose like the packaging and the colouring of it. Ryan, good to have you in. Ryan Sutherland's in. Bishop and Boy saying it's the dram. that counts for me. Yeah, I mean, like this bottle here, for instance, Whiskey Broker's bottles, they've got basically bugger all in there. They've got the age, well, they've got all the information that's necessary. But then, so I would tend to buy non-packaged IBs and maybe packaged OBs. So there's times I've been suckered in, say like the King Alexander 3, the Glenfiddich 21 Winter Storm or 22, whatever it is, Glenmorangie Signet, all those ones, nice packaging. They're good whiskies, but they're not that good for the price. You're paying more for the packaging. But then at the same time, like I've already put out tonight, I buy whiskies like this, and I've only bought it because of the label. I've only bought it because it's a funky label, and I like the label, and luckily the whiskey's quite good. So I think I can be suckered into buying nicely presented whiskies, and especially with the labels, with funky labels. Even with Charlton whiskey, they have quite nice labels, nice pictures, nice art. So yeah, I think you can be. It's easy to get sucked in, and hopefully the whiskey's good once you are sucked in. Willie's getting his Jag next week, so am I, funny enough. When this COVID's behind us, he'll take myself to the SMWS for afternoon. Stevie, you can come too, and just bare bone bottles for me. Yes, let's get steaming.
Excellent.
Willie.
Thank you. We don't necessarily. Whimsy could be offshore. It doesn't matter. It's fine.
Aye, Steve, you'll just take Stevie.
I'll just get John Blythe done as well. By the way, I'm just having a wee Cairnhead's 30-year-old Tormore, bottled at cast strength, but it's down at 48.1.
Nice. So the malt cask is saying presentation is so important with regards to cast strength, natural colour, and unchill filtered. Yeah, totally agree. I was trying to talk about packaging in a sense, but yeah, presentation for me, pardon me, is where it's at. The actual transparency of the whiskey, but just wondering if people do ever buy an independently bottled whiskey because it's packaged nice. It's quite an uncommon thing. It's usually OB that do that. So Whiskey Broker tells us drinkers what we want to know. Yes, it does. That's all it really just gives us information. May contain sediment. Mark's saying packaging's a bonus. It'd be good to save money without the packaging. Yeah, I totally agree. Sometimes packaging.
I think also, Stuart, that at the end of the day, let's say you've got the 3 equally fantastic producers of whiskey, who are all trying to grow, gain their market, get their fan base and stuff like that. And everybody knows that all 3 are equally good. So what else differentiates your whiskey on the shelf from the one next door? What makes you pick up the Glenlivet over the Glenmorangie or you know what I mean? So I think packaging does have its place, but I'm a bit more shallow when it comes to it. I like a well-dressed bottle. So
I think Gimmy's nailed it on the head. Like, presentation's probably more important when you start out drinking whiskey, and that's how it felt for me. You kind of built up got rid of your naivety in a sense, where you thought that the better presented the package was, the better the whiskey, but it's not always the case. And once you find out what you like as well. Mendy saying, anyone seen the TBWC Zombie or Roast label? I'd love to see that because I do love a really nice label. It's like what Stevie's saying. Say you had Charlton, Thompson Bros, and then Whiskey Broker all side by side. You'd probably go for the Thompson or the Charlton because they've got nice pictograms or whatever you want to say, nice artwork on them. Whereas the Whiskey Broker's just got it's a bland label with just what you need basically. Erwin saying packaging sometimes pulls me in. The liquid in the bottle keeps me coming back. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good point because you can only ever get drawn in by the packaging once.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Then what's in there needs to be good for you to go back again. So you can only make the mistake once.
So this SMWS, Blair Athol.
Geez, you actually tasting it now.
Yeah, I'm I wasn't really enjoying it without the water. Let it open up a bit, but no, with the water, oh Jesus, it's fantastic. Without the water, it was a bit just too much wood, maybe too much dominance of the wood. It might get a bit more tame the further I go down, but with the water, it's become a lot juicier.
Is it by
Peanuts.
any chance? Is by any chance do you pick up like sulfur and almost sort of butcher meat, blood sort of?
Not in the Blair Athol, not for me, no. I don't know. I don't think so. I just
I
pick
don't
up
know. I had an older
a lot.
signatory one where it was just too sulfury, metallic, almost like licking a butcher's counter. And like, forgive me if I'm offending anybody, but it was. I actually gave it away. I was just, but you know, again, there's a whiskey there for everybody. The only Blair Athol I really seem to get my head round and thoroughly enjoy with a passion is the Flora and Fauna bottle.
Yeah. Aye. I don't really add water to whiskies and that, but this has opened up perfectly with the water. I like I like my cash strength whiskies. I like them the way they are.
So that one's kicked your ass basically.
No, it's not. It's not necessarily the ABV because it's only 58. It's the flavour. It's just too much wood.
Only 50. It's only 58.
It's only 58. It's only a little bit of alcohol.
Aye.
So Ryan's saying packaging is secondary to me. Yep. But I enjoy a well thought out label, especially Donnock's KMG designs. Yeah, KMG, is some artist. He's brilliant. So I'm pretty sure he's Scottish, born and bred, hopefully. I'm sure he is. But yeah, he does some good stuff. He's done some for Transmit Festival and that. He does a lot of like kind of graffiti artwork and that. He's great. Anyway, I think the breathing bottles are nice. A blend of subtlety and presentation. Yeah, that's I like a bit of subtlety. Kind of almost like simplistic, plain looking labels. And the breathing have definitely hit that on the head. The bottles are nice to look at. Although there's not a lot to look at, it's still nice, quite pleasing. Sorry, just one more and then, yeah, Toro, with single barrels, I want to see the colour, age, and what it's been aged in. I can get a lot of info from that. It's far important than a label. Fair enough.
I was just going to ask a straightforward question to people that are listening. If I said to you, quick question, off the top of your head, what would you say is your favourite independent bottling, not the bottler, the independent bottling whiskey of the moment?
Yeah.
Straight off the top.
What's everybody's favourite bottle of whiskey that's in an independent bottle at the moment? For me, plain labels with key info tend to suggest the bottlers put all their time and effort into the whiskey. Yeah, I can understand that.
Or couldn't it be bottled in a fancy label?
So I've just completely offended women. Mark saying KMG is a woman. Katie Guthrie. Well, yes, I'm completely corrected, and I will go red in the face now. I thought it was a guy for some reason, maybe just sexist. Yeah.
I think you should just stop digging a hole, move on.
Yeah, I think that'll be me cancelled now. I've assumed someone was a woman, a guy, but yeah.
Any answer to the top independent whiskey of the moment?
So we've got two, and one might surprise you or not surprise you. Bart saying that's Stosha, the 6-year-old from AD Ratray.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I would probably agree with him. For me, Highland Park from Gordon MacPhail is Radex.
I've never actually had an indie Highland Park.
I've had Robertson's at Pitlochry, a little sample of theirs. It was all right. Malt cask, James Eady Linkwood, 10 recharged barrels. I've had a few James Eady, and it's not one I've been going for but I've had a few bad ones, but there you go. Tony, either Kalila or Glen Murray. Even Mark's agreeing with the Stosha. Yeah, it's a fantastic whiskey. Steve Whiskey Brewer, Cairdenheads, Bunnahavn, 7-year-old single cask for the whiskey market, Cologne. There we
Wow.
go. That's
Okay.
specific. There are no favourite current bottles, only empty ones. Willie, I love having you here. Please stick around. First editions, Dal Ewan, 1998, 18-year-old ex-bourbon, water cask. Yeah, I do love a good bourbon cask over sherry. We've got a few coming in. These are coming in fast and hard. Tony Evans, Wild Blair,
Okay.
Gordon MacPhail Collection, 21-year-old. Last two. The Octave Kalila, Sherry Heaven, and Willie's finally found one. Berry Bros and Rudd, single ale malt. Single ale malt. Brilliant.
So the octaves is Duncan Taylor, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, some interesting answers there. What about the same question for an independent blended malt?
Oh, so that would be something. It could be like something like Douglas Lang. It could be the Thompson Bros, Campbelltown 5-year-old, something like that. I think that'd be a harder one. I don't think a lot of people would have something like that in their selection. It's not really a common thing to have. You're more likely to have independent bottles of single malt, I suppose. But yeah, if anybody has one like a blended independent single bottle that they're fond of at the moment, I don't think I've got one that I could say.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them doing them.
Yeah, maybe it's probably got to be the Velvet Fig 25-year-old.
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
yeah.
There's they do have them. Old Perth cash strength. I haven't had it. Timorous
I'm
18-year-old. I
interested.
think.
Yeah, I'm interested to try the Old Perth. It's been repackaged as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, it's bourbon, Willie. Bourbon. Morrison's Old Perth. There you go. Old Perth's the winner.
Right.
Or a Caden Heads. So Ryan said he's just bought the Little Brown Dog, wee mongrel, and it's stunning. 20-year-old. Yeah, I believe Matt, a multi-haggis muncher's got that. He's in the chat. I don't know if he's opened it yet, but a lot of people have been buying that. Berry Bros Sherry Cask Matured, cheap and tasty. Once again, I've not had that. And Mark, Cadenhead 12, but it's been discontinued. A bit of a shame. So I might open another whiskey. 2 bottles opened in one night seems like a good goal. Yeah.
It's the beginning of the. I'm getting through glasses here.
So I've got a
Oops.
whiskey share, a whiskey bottle share with Mark, who's in with us. And I don't know if you can see that, Stevie.
Rattray, a Bal Blair.
A Bal Blair. It's 9-year-old, and it was bottled in the 17th of March 2021, and it's got Bond and Wims on there. So it's a bottle share between myself and Mark, a whiskey bond. So if he doesn't mind, I'm going to open it.
Wow. Okay.
And see what that's like.
I'm just trying to find myself another glass.
So yeah, Matt is agreeing with the mongrel, saying that's good. Gibby saying get it opened, and Mark is saying crack it. So I'm going to attempt to crack this. I hate wax seals; they're actually the worst thing in the world. How the hell do I need a knife? Oh. So these are like individually personalised bottles that you get on ED Rattery. Stevie, they're quite good. They have different casks at different times to bottle. And I think this was like £50 or something, so it's quite cheap. Got a knife.
It must be my memory, but I really didn't remember you asking me if I wanted to do it.
Well, I was going to get you one for your birthday that just passed, personalised.
Oh,
but,
yeah, was gonna.
It was a long morn, and every time you tell me you don't really like cask strength, so they're all cask strengths. So it's one of those where do I get something I know you'll like, or do I get something you might not like? Anyway. So what we got here? Old Malt Cask, picked one of these Bal Blair 9 a couple of weeks ago, so interested to hear your thoughts. Need to open mine soon. yeah, I'll try and get some thoughts on it, some articulate notes.
Yeah,
So what are you?
It'll probably take you about an hour to get round to tasting it.
I like to let it sit for a while, let it oxygenise.
Yeah,
So what are you drinking, Stevie?
Sniff it first. Well, I did have a plan because I was trying to stick to the indie and the distillery, but I've kind of went off track because so far I forgot I had that Cadned's Fetter Cairn. So far I've been Fetter Cairn all the way.
Oh, have you?
I was then going to look at Glenallachie because I've got a first cask edition Glenallachie. And I matched that up against like a 15-year-old Glenallachie, so that was going to be well, what the hell? Let's go for it. But when you started talking about Velvet Fig, I had a wee Untold Riches last night, and I enjoyed just sitting watching TV with that.
Bart's saying, so you're definitely not watching Rangers on the side end, Stewie. No, I'm actually a little bit disappointed with myself. I forgot that it was on. But we're not going to be late tonight, so I might catch the second half. But yeah, hopefully I'll catch some of the football. So
what are they playing for? Have they not already won?
No, this is a European game, but no football talking here in case there's some sad Celtic supporters who are maybe a bit upset that they have not won the 10 in a row. So I don't want to talk about football. Yeah, so I actually got that for £45 with a 10% discount, although a Whiskey Bond Mark still paid the full price. Nope, I don't believe you. I do not believe you. Oh, this is different. Oh, I don't know what this is. This has got to be sherry, surely. This is. Oh, whoa. This is nice. This is nice.
We've not tasted it yet.
I know, but it smells good. Surely not, please. Right? No, we can't talk about it. No. I'll just end the broadcast. Just end it. Yeah. So I think we've got a few Celtic supporters here, and just me, the only Rangers supporter. So we have Kresimir. He's in. It's good to see Kresimir. Currently, I've just poured myself a dram of this Balblair, an independent bottled from AD Rattery. I'm currently trying to pick the wax off because I'm quite fidgety and I don't like bottles where you can't see the seal right off. So anyway, sherry butt on this Balblair, if I remember. Yeah, I thought it was sherry. It's got such a kind of fruity. What would the word be? Vibrant. It's very vibrant on the nose. It's good. So sorry, Stevie. What did you say you had?
I just poured the other two I'd sitting was Glenallachie, so I've poured the Indie first. So it's a 1992 Glenallachie bottled by First Editions. It's 50% on the nose, non-chill filtered, non-colour, one of 125 bottles from a bourbon barrel.
Mm.
And its tasting notes are banana and fresh summer fruits. On the nose, sweet crisp apples, a medium length finish with more fruit. It's quite crappy tasting notes, to be honest, but
so Mark is saying that AD Rattery have got a 10% discount code off. I think he's got an affiliate link or something. But yeah, this Balblair's is splendid.
it's interesting because a lot of people say their newer stuff's not a patch on the older stuff. So what they've a new core range now which costs an arm and a leg, but a lot of people say I haven't tried any of the new versions, but
Has to be the official bottlings.
Yeah. I'm still trying to grab a couple of the older ones. I've got a 1989 and 1997. One of the most awesome ones I've ever tried is a 1990, actually.
Yeah.
Which is impossible to get, but that's an absolutely fantastic bubbler.
This is surprising. On the nose, it's very vibrant, very fruity, very juicy, but then on the palate, it's quite dry. It's quite cigar leaf, and that it's quite a contrast for the nose and the palate. Really enjoying this. If you couldn't tell, it's just
Is that
surprising.
Is that Louise clattering the dishes in the background?
Oh, can you hear?
Oh, what do you mean? Can we hear?
Is it that loud?
Aye.
Can you hear the kettle?
No. What's she doing with a kettle? She's not got a vodka in her hand.
It doesn't look like she's got a vodka. It looks like she's making tea. I don't know why. She should be having a vodka, but she has no cola left.
Oh,
just lemonade. So maybe gin with
Oh,
lemonade.
No, vodka and lemonade's nice.
Vodka and lemonade. So have you got anything else with independent bottlers you want to speak about, you want to talk to us about? Anything else you've got to add to what little we've said, what informative descriptions we've given?
I still haven't got to the bottom of what indie bottlers do that is so radically different. Or does it not need to be radical? It's just simply using a different cast type, using different finishes. I just sometimes think it's remarkable the difference between one and the other.
I think it must be
one of the best examples I can give you is this rare malts. I don't know how well you can see it. It's that, I think I spoke about it last time. It's a Dalmore, but it's like a dirty brown color. An Oloroso octave finish. It's 11-year-old. It's the bizarrest coloured whiskey I've ever seen. But it's absolutely fantastic. It's like a Dalmore without the sugary honey. You know, that sort of caramelly tone to it.
And do you think that caramel tone, sugariness of flavour comes from the colouring they add? Because there's been a big debate whether the colouring's tasteless or not, but
it can't be. It can't be just from a.
I think it'd be good to try a variety of independently bottled Dalmores and see if they're missing the caramel characteristics, because I would reckon if they are, then you could.
Well, some. I mean, Dalmores, they particularly go for a style that's made them one of the biggest luxury brands, and that's what works for them. But there are Dalmores like this. I've seen some independent Dalmores where they're much lighter. So, yeah, I'm interested to explore a bit more independent Dalmores.
Yeah, I think
it's the first ever I've had from this Glenmore Spirit Company, and I think the only outlet you get for it, well, the outlet for us is Royal Mile Whiskies, I think, if I remember correctly. But I was really impressed with it. Really, really impressed. So, how do you get such a different result from the same spirit?
I think it has got to do with them possibly getting the distillate, new make distillate, and then nourishing it themselves from start to finish, Even when it is, maybe say they've bought a cask off the distillery, they're still nourishing it, they're still maturing it the way they like, picking the cask, recasking it. Whereas a big distillery with lots of blends, or lots of whiskey going to blends, or just a big distillery that does a lot of vatting, like Dalmore or whoever, Glenmorangie or whatever, do they really care about a cask being tired if they're going to vat it all together? Whereas an independent bottler, their casks can't be tired because they're not vatting. Majority of the time, it's single casks, cask strength. So maybe that's where the difference is. The non-chill filtration, they're not taking any fats, acids away from it. They're not watering it down. So I think that's maybe the reason why they're so different. But yeah, definitely the fact that they're not vatting and things like that, and they're not taking anything away, whereas a
Yeah,
lot
but
of these big distilleries are.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I in a big distillery, obviously they're looking for the ones not to vat.
Right.
So a good distillery manager is looking for those casks not to put down the everyday route because it's something a bit more special. So in a distillery, that's what they're looking for. Okay, there's a single bourbon cask. What was I going to say? I hadn't realised with that one, and it's the same as some of the stuff coming from Duncan Taylor. They're using the octave, which are really, really small.
Yeah, smaller cask.
So your whiskey tastes much more mature than it actually is in years, because it's in an octave cask.
Getting more kind
I
of
don't know
connection
what,
with the cask.
yeah, and I don't know what people think about that. It's got a risk. It's got a risk that it pushes younger whiskey up in price because it tastes more mature and it's richer. And
But I don't think it's just that. I think when you use like an octave cask, like a sherry cask, sometimes, I mean, I had that. I think it was a 23-year-old Speyside from Bartels, and it was an octave cask. It was just too much. The octave was just too powerful. It gave too much to the whiskey, and it didn't taste right, didn't feel right. But sometimes it does work. I think the younger they are, the better it is. I think if you leave it too long, it maybe takes too much of the wood in. The malt cask is saying, saying the less harmonisation of flavours than you get with big batches. I would think you get a raw experience.
Yeah, the first ever octave I had was a Glenglassaugh when they did it the first time a number of years ago, and then somebody else took over the distillery and told them to stop. And I remember being at the distillery and the woman said to me, "No, we were the new guy took over and they told us to stop doing the octaves." Cheers, Gibby. And I said, "Well, I've got one in the van." She says, "Oh, we've been trying to buy them back," and I was like, "No, mine's open already." But now they're doing octave again, so that would be about 2 years ago. So now they're doing octave again, but it's quite interesting because they basically make a mini barrel out of a big barrel. Is all the difference, but it does seem to have a profound impact on the.
It's more interaction with the cask. I mean, I always try and think about it as football. So when we used to train football training, you obviously if you played 7-a-sides or 11-a-sides, that's like a normal kind of game. 11 a team is a normal game. But when you done training, you done 5-a-sides to get more interaction with the ball. So the smaller space you had, the smaller numbers, you were kicking the ball around a lot more. You had more interaction with the ball, and it must be the exact same with the whiskey. The smaller the cask, it's got a lot more interaction. All those, I don't know what it would be, not atoms, but whatever it is, all those enzymes or whatever hitting off the cask, having a lot more interaction with it. Bart's back with another descriptive analogy for us. I think Dalmore only tastes right when your BMI is upwards of 50, you're on a golf course accompanied by your Ukrainian mail order bride, and you're mildly successful at hedge funds. Stevie,
Wow. I'm
are you
impressed.
either of those?
I'm impressed by what he wrote, but at the end of the day, it's a
and the
nice
thing
way.
is,
It's a nice way of talking nonsense.
English is his second language. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's more than I could depict. So Tony, Lady of the Glen have been using Octave recently, and the ones I've tried are brilliant. Do you think Lady of the Glen are maybe a little bit pricier? I bought the Glen Elgin from them. It's fantastic, but I think they are a little bit pricey.
Yeah, they
these,
are. They are. They do seem to have niche pricing, which is on the higher end. I missed that last comment there.
Sorry. So Tony said, can't leave a spirit in Octave for more than 5 years as it destroys a spirit. So I've got a single cask, which is 11 years in Octave, and that Bartell's 23-year-old, which was in Octaves, which is long gone now. It was enjoyable, but it was just a little bit too much. And Radek saying Springbanks, Rundlets, and Kilderkins were impressive bottlings. So this was a series where they put them in small barrels as well. And these ones always fetch for quite high secondary market prices.
Yeah, I mean, the idea behind it is not to mature it for a long time. The idea is to produce a more mature tasting whiskey in a short space of time. So you shouldn't really find any that are storing them in an octave for a length of time that spoils it, because that's not what they're trying to achieve. They're trying to achieve in a shorter space of time a more mature tasting whiskey. So they don't want to leave it 10. They don't want to leave it 10 years in an octave. That defeats the purpose.
Yeah, so I think we've covered a lot to do with independent bottlings. I think we've maybe covered why they taste different, the price comparison of them, the gap kind of closing, which it is. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add. I think we should have one for the road. Tony is agreeing that the Lady of the Glen are a little bit pricier, but yeah, I think we should maybe have one for the road. Unless you want to keep going, if you've got anything else to say.
The only thing I would say is one for the road is copyrighted by me, so you can't be using that.
Well, that's fine. If you want to copyright it, you can copyright it. I'll just put it up at the bottom, and if people want to use it, they can use it.
Just the same as one for the road is the same as I've also copyrighted. Hey, no, this is the real one for the road, and then the other one is no, right. This is really, really the one for the road.
Right. So anytime Stevie was over at mine pre-COVID, obviously, we'd always have a drink, and it would be time to go. And Stevie would say, "One for the road." No, this is the one for the road. No, this is the real one for the road. No, this is the real one for the road. So we ended up having 5 or 6 drams after we said we were going to leave.
Five for the road.
5 for the road. Yeah, so that's what Tony's saying. Tony's saying, I'm sure one for the road lasted about 2 hours the last live. Yeah, I mean that went on for about 4.5 hours, that full live. So we thought if we cut it shorter, the one for the roads would not exceed the 4.5 hour mark. We can't go 5 hours. I don't think anybody's ever done it. 5 hours talking pure whiskey nonsense.
Yeah, and tomorrow's a school day, so come on.
So one for the road. What are you going for? One for the road? Are you going for an IB or an OB or what?
Oh, I'll tell you what I think I'm going to go for is I'm going to go for a cheeky wee independent grain.
Oh, an independent grain. Very interesting.
There's a topic we didn't cover. This was one of the. This is a Douglas Lang private stock. The first grain I've ever actually bought, and I only bought it because of Dram Full.
Yeah.
Because a couple of years ago, up at the Speyside Whiskey Festival, Dramful were just sort of starting their sort of tasting their journey, and they had a 40-year-old grain whiskey, and I can't remember what the price was, but it was not what you would expect it to be. And I'll tell you how good it was. We took the car. Sharon took the car because she doesn't drink whiskey. So she had her flight of whiskey, and she told the guy she wasn't. She tasted the grain whiskey, and the guy gave her, for all the other flights she had, the guy gave her the grain whiskey, and we left the car. It was in our church home. We left the car there to go back to Elgin. So ever since then, I was on the lookout. So I've got this from, it's number 130 of 172. It's from Strathclyde.
Strathclyde.
It's from Strathclyde. It's 32-year-old. So yeah, I think I'm gonna. And interestingly enough, it's the first bottle I've ever had that's actually got
a glass cork. A glass cork.
In fact, I should really take a clean glass for
it. So I've went the opposite direction. You've went old and grain. I've went young and barley. I'm going for the winner of my 2020 whiskey of the year, and a whiskey that will forever be missed once it's gone. I hate that I'm finishing it, but it's the 4-year-old Ben Nevis from Carnmore's last year's release.
Was that not as rough as a Badger's?
Well, you may have thought it was rough. You not necessarily the biggest fan of a dirty dram, so that may be what was caused there. But I like the dirtiness, the funkiness. It's a great whiskey. I'm also going to have some Chokiski's chocolate. Oh, so that's
Jesus
what it is.
So the night you're advertising Chokoisky, what's the other thing you've been advertising all night without realising it?
Cadenhead.
No, on your T-shirt. Whiskey Broker. You've mentioned them like a shed load of times. Are you sure there's no money? Oh, and by the way, have you used your big mental glass yet?
Aye. I'm just pretending I'm getting paid by companies and hoping they'll pay me with gratitude pay. So
they're going to pay you for losing customers. Of course they will.
So Bart did say earlier, and I completely forgot to mention his comment about us starting our own. Have we ever thought about buying our own casks and bottling our own whiskey? So he says, when are you guys starting your own indie label? I'm like an SS, have a nice German ring to it. Before I shaved my hair, I did used to be blonde, and I've got slightly blue eyes. So I mean, whatever sells, I suppose. I mean, you look at Hugo Boss. It worked out for Hugo Boss. So Gary Patterson, Gaz, late to the party. We'll hate to watch it back. Aye. Well, thanks for coming late, Gary. And
is anybody else out there got a grain whiskey they can finish on? Does anybody like grain whiskey?
Oh, look what Tony's just poured.
Oh, nice. I'm quite a big fan.
Thanks for joining. It's good to have you. If you want to come back, we do lives every Thursday randomly. So you'll just have to randomly
every Thursday once in a blue moon.
Every randomly Thursday that's comes around. So you'll have to either subscribe and notifications, or just watch the space or Instagram or something, because this was last minute. Everything's last minute, and we're not very prepared.
By the way, that's that guy's first time here, and he recognised you as a lady.
No, that's fine. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. I'm fine with that.
He's very observant.
Aye, you're right, guys. Thanks for being here. Tony says doesn't own any grain. Only found a couple that he likes. Willie's got the same idea as me with the Carnmore. He's finishing on a Carnmore Glenturret 8. Quite a smoky one.
Okay. A smoky Glenturret. I struggle with Glenturret, to be honest.
They've just rebranded. There's Ryan saying he's got a Girvan sherry finish here. Very strange stuff, but it works. I'm pretty sure Girvan's grain.
Is that what he's actually drinking, or has he just got one?
I don't think he's drinking it. I think he's just got one, by the sounds of things. Yeah, this Ben Nevis just gets, with that Highland chocolate, this Ben Nevis just gets better and better. I love this Ben Nevis.
Do you? Do you like it?
I don't know if I've said it. I don't know if I've said it before, but
is it any good?
Probably. Do you know what? I think this is a good dram.
Aye. Do you like it?
Aye. What do you think?
Aye, it certainly looks. Yep, aye.
It's funky, it's dirty, it's earthy, it's raw, it's got everything you want in a whiskey.
Probably needs a wee bit of dark chocolate with a Chokoisky on it. With it.
Chokiski.
Aye.
Aye, no engineering, nothing like that. Ryan's been a good boy tonight, so I guess he's not drinking. Boo. Encourage people to drink. Boo. That's a joke, by the way.
This grain.
Gaz is joining you with the grain, Stevie. He's just poured a 15-year-old Port Dundas OP range from Douglas Laying.
I'd be interested to know what that's like, because I was told to stay to older grain because grain only mellows out when it's, I don't know, somebody told me if you want a good grain, stay at 28 and above years old. This is creamy, it's vanilla, it's a bit of lemon, it's a bit of pencil shavings on the nose.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get the rest of this wax seal off. I'm so OCD, I hate having.
Well, you should watch the Karate Kid, because they did a thing about wax on, wax off. To maybe get some.
Yeah, the wax off bit's quite hard. The wax on must be quite hard. I've shaved a little bit off the cork actually.
Have we got anybody still on, by the way? Because you're probably blowing the pants off them with your.
My wax peeling.
Messing about with your cork.
I think people would like to see me messing about with my cork, to be fair.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, thumbs up, like the video if you'd like to see me mess about with my cork. So Bart's having a night off the drinking tomorrow and Saturday will be mad for me already. Good to know, Bart. I think I'm having a mad one tomorrow as well. Tony says he finds the grain can be too sweet for him. Yeah, I know what you're saying. His grain something I've had that grain. You've gave me that grain. It's quite a good one. But yeah, I can understand the sweetness sometimes.
Yeah.
But definitely young ones. Young ones can feel a bit too. I don't want to say grainy.
Really harsh. Really harsh.
They can be like harsh. I don't know the word.
This is like a glass full of Bounty.
Do you love me a Bounty? Yeah, that's yeah. I'm glad you're enjoying yours because I'm really enjoying mine.
How many people have we got left online? How many have like buggered off?
So I think our max at one point was 32.
Really?
We have, it was quite good numbers for.
Is that not the most we've ever had?
Yeah, I think average we're maybe about average we're maybe about 25, 28, but I think 32 is kind of a peak for us. We've hit something. We've got 18 out at the moment, and Bart's saying the grains have this bizarre glue note. That's what it is. Yes, it's a kind of gluey note.
But if you find one that's mature enough and smooth enough, then it's quite an interesting. It's no malt whiskey for sure, but it's what's that?
I don't know if he's trying to take the mick out of us or if he's being genuine, but it seems like he's trying to take the piss.
I would think so.
I would say that's not a genuine comment. Whatever,
No,
it's fine.
I was trying to think of a name for us, Stuart, like as a celebrity duo, like Ant and Dec. What about fucking Wit? You could be fucking, I'll be Wit.
Yeah, I suppose. We could do that. So I don't know. Did you ask something around 17.387, Stevie? Is that the age for a grain
What?
should be? I don't know. Radic, what is that? Is that the age that a grain should be?
So is that like 17 years and round about April time?
Aye. I thought you were going to go in a complete different direction by that, and I'm glad you didn't. Guys, I was led to believe the same, Stevie. I have a couple older ones unopened that I need to try, but have a wee sample of this 15-year-old. Actually, quite nice.
No,
All right.
open one of your older ones. I definitely am not I'm definitely not a fan of grain whiskey.
He's explaining the 15-year-old. It's actually quite nice. A right warm rhubarb, Parma violet, and Scotch tape note on the palate. Citrus spice in the finish. The nose was nothing to shout. Hey moot. There you go. Tony says we've got a great duo name. Ryan, who's done with the insulting and piss taking out of our celebrity status. Acetone / glue is a classic one for me. Older grains can get citrusy, which is brilliant to find. Ryan actually says he was being genuine. Still don't believe it. There you go, Bart's agreeing with you. Thought we'd never see the day.
Yeah, I think, and as I say, I think I've got 2 grains in my collection. For the simple reason that any younger grain I've tried has just been really too harsh, and the only thing that made me, as I say, was actually thanks to Dramful. They made me realise that, hey, maybe there is a grain whiskey out there for you.
Aye.
And
I think
bought
it's
this
something
one
that I need to add to my selection.
It's just a different
Kind of different dynamic.
I don't think I could drink it all the time, but sitting here finishing on this, it's a bit lighter. It's I'm enjoying it.
Well, you're enjoying yourself. I'm enjoying yourself, and I'd just like to say, I hope everyone who's watching, 19 people, I hope you're all enjoying yourself as well, because we're having a good time. We like to try and create a friendly, public atmosphere where we're just chatting, getting along. We're all mates, so we can take the piss out of each other if you want. It's fine, Ryan. But yeah, I hope you're all enjoying yourselves.
Yeah. Anybody want to fire any sort of last questions at us?
And we can try and answer them. Cool thing with single grain is that we can still afford really old stuff. Yeah, Bart's right. It's a shame that we can't afford really old malts. Well, they're gonna having 28-year-old for Weems malts. I mean, Jesus, that's a great price.
Yeah, and it's
Gaz has got a 30-year-old North British with Dramful. He'll get into that at some point. I will translate for the non-English speakers, non-Scottish speakers, non-Aberdonian speakers.
Definitely get into it. It was Dramful that made me realise that it should be explored.
So how are you getting on with yours? Because I think it might be one final one for the road.
Well, I'm taking my time because I'm not an alcoholic, so you know we've got to be responsible. Got to be responsible here. You didn't see Ant and Dec getting pissed before the end of our show, do you?
They're definitely hiring something else.
Hey, we're celebrities. We've got 30 odd viewers. We can't be letting them down.
I'd probably say I'm a functioning. Tony saying always relaxing, always interesting. I'm glad you think so, Tony. We do appreciate it. We try to be interesting, engaging, and relaxing. Nothing too intense. distill back. So here's your last question, and because you've asked the last question, I'm going to have to pour one more whiskey. Anyway,
Well, that's an interesting.
Yeah. What distilleries do you tend to look for when buying indie bottlers? Well, one of mine is definitely Blair Athol. And then I would say Ben Rinnes at number 2. And then I would say, creeping on my radar, Tormore / Dalyuen. Yeah, I'd say that in that order. Definitely Blair Athol, Ben Rinnes, Tormore / Dalyuen. I'd love to have like independently bottled Springbanks, Long Rose, but it's not affordable. What about yourself, Stevie?
That's an interesting question, because actually, when I'm looking at independent bottlers, I'm not searching for a specific distillery.
Yeah.
I sort of look through, see what catches my, look through the tasting, look through the notes and stuff like that. So I tend. I've got some whiskies where I'm a repeat buyer, but I tend to prefer not to be a repeat buyer, so that I can try more and more stuff. So,
yeah, I think it's hard. Like, I could buy the Blair Athol 4 and 4 on a 12-year-old over and over again, but I just like to have different whiskies.
So I don't go. I go searching for independent bottlers and I actually look through them all. Is what I do. I don't go for, like, I search for independent Ardbeg or search for independent Tormore, whatever. I just want to see what's available from an independent bottler point of view. There's a few whiskies where I do tend to buy, well, no independent, but the Ardbegs, I've got, as tempted, that's kind of been in my collection for a while. I quite like my Bladnoch, so I quite like what they're doing. So, but other than that, I tend to just look far and wide and see what grabs my fancy.
I suppose one of your examples would be like Fettercairn. A big fan of them, and you have purposefully sought out Fettercairn independent bottles to see.
Oh, that's true. So that is true. That's true.
So that's quite interesting. And same with Dalmore, although you got that for your Christmas, it's still, I think it's something that you might explore more as independent bottled Dalmores, because you have really enjoyed that one that you've got. Radek saying, hi, on you go. Just speak.
It was my son. We were sitting blethering one night, and it was a throwaway thing I said, and just before Christmas, and the next thing, my son, without me knowing, was on the internet, and he found that, and he got me it, and I'm really chuffed he did.
Sorry, he's just saying, well done, chaps. I've been enjoying the banter for the background. Thank you, Regional Roadie. So Radek saying, which indie bottlers have the most solid bottlings according to us? So I feel like we've already touched on that with our top 3 possibly, but I'd have to say at the moment for me, what I'm seeing and what I'm buying, I like Cadenhead overall, but I couldn't comment and saying they've got the most solid bottlings because I've not been buying recently. I've been buying auction items from them. But Carnmore, Eddie Rattray for what I've been having. I know Adelphi's been good, but once again, it's not something I've been buying. So it would have to be Thompson Bros. From what I've personally been buying, or maybe Weems malts, but from what I've personally been buying, it's definitely been Carnmore constantly. I mean, I've got a good few Carnmore, and yeah, AD Rattray, I'm buying more and more of that, and Thompson Bros. What about yourself, Stevie?
I think, if I'm being brutally honest, I'm just exploring the independent bottlers just now. I know I've got a couple of favourites at the minute, but I've in no way scratched the surface of what's out there. So I wouldn't like to say which of the most solid bottlings. I can tell you which I've enjoyed so far, but that's about it really.
This is a Daft Mill 2009 Oloroso, so I need to give you it again. It's 61.1%, I think, but it doesn't smell like it, it doesn't drink like it. This is absolutely amazing. Oh man, that's such a good whiskey. Jesus. When buying indie, do you look for somebody who is emphasising the home style or something that has taken the spirit in a different direction, maybe cask type distillery would not normally use? That's that's quite an interesting question.
Yeah, for me that.
I forgot to mention Whiskey Broker.
Really?
Not getting paid. Not getting paid now.
Really? No, I think. What do I think? I think what you're looking for is. Well, what I'm looking for is always something different, something new to explore. I very rarely buy two bottles or a second bottle of the same thing. Very rarely do I do that. And I was just trying to think where I have done it. I've done it with I've done it with Bladnoch Samsara. I've done it with a couple of Glenglassers. I'm trying to think of the other ones, but I very rarely. There's so much out there. I very rarely go to the same bottle twice. As much as I might like a bottle, I very rarely do it.
Aye, with what Gaz is saying with the home style or like taking a spin in a different direction. I think obviously like home style, say like a Dalmore and they go down the sherry route or something, it'd be good to see, but I think seeing something different is always intriguing to me. I'd like to see, like what was mentioned earlier with the Whiskey Broker, I can't remember which whiskey it was, but finishing an ex Lefroy cask. I think that's hella interesting. Something like that. Something that a distillery would never think to do or would never really do because they don't want to hurt their brand name or whatever, or use someone else's whiskey or whiskey cask. I think that, yeah, I'd be more leaning towards an experimental thing, but not in the case of a distillery doing something like an official bottle and doing something a bit for the sake of doing it, basically. Like say now that tequila's there, everybody starts doing tequila or whatever, like a tequila finished whiskey or something stupid. But more like I like the sound of ex Lefroy or ex casks. Yeah, I think that add a real different dimension to things.
Oh, if you think about it, like just even if you just stick with single cask, without anybody doing anything different. If you think about all the whiskies all over the country, and if you think about all the single casks that are set aside for, hey, don't put this to vat or blend or whatever, you could never explore them in a lifetime. So I think even without anybody doing any weird and wonderful experimentation, there's a lifetime full of single casks of every single malt to try to last your lifetime. And then on top of that, you've got all the latest trend, which is all about finishing on top of that. So there's to me, there's no point in buying the same thing because there's
like it's almost an infinite possibilities.
Yeah, you'll never in your lifetime experience everything. So
I have found sometimes that I feel some independent bottles and some cask strength bottlings have had real similar flavours, tastes, and that, and they feel too too same-ish. But maybe that's just the high ABV and not enough time or something. But yeah, you can't explore everything. There's a great question for Tony. Um, I'm not sure. I don't think I'd be able to answer this, to be honest, but you might be able to answer this. Um, I'm really not sure. I'd need to have a think about it. But is there a bottle that you've got in your collection, say at the moment, currently, that you'll never open? You'll never open it. It's hard to say because I
It's a
had
good
like the
question.
it's a great question. So I had the Glenlivet Code, the Glenlivet Cipher. Tried it at Edinburgh, the Gravediggers, Athletic Arms. Tried it there. They were both very similar and not that great. And I sold them an auction for the exact same price. I actually lost money because of commission and all that seller's fee. And they weren't that, yeah, they weren't good. So I'd never opened them and never tried them. Didn't go in with the intention of not opening them. But currently at the moment, I'd have to have a look around and think. But is there a bottle in my collection that I'll never open? I can't say. I don't think there is one that I'll never open. I'll need to have a look. But
No, I think there's two things. There's the old phrase "never say never again."
yeah,
I think if I think of some of the whiskies I've had in my short span of collecting them, if I think some of the stuff I've had that that my dad and my uncle have had and stuff like that now is priceless. I mean, I used to have a 1967 Bunnahabhain, a 1969 Tom and Tool, a 1975 Balblair, a 1980 Dalmore, so like a number of ones. But I think it's a case. If I was looking at my collection just now, um, purely from a romantic perspective, because the Bunnahabhain is the Laird's choice, and my surname's Laird, I think I would need to have a very special reason for opening that. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I would open that for a very special reason. I'm not saying I would never open it.
mm. I think as well, like it's quite a broad question. Is there a bottle you've got in your collection that you'll never open? Because I mean, some people buy whiskey to sell the whiskey. But you and I, we like to drink our whiskey. There are some we'll put on the shelf for show, but eventually we'll probably end up drinking it.
Yeah, I'm always looking for the next whiskey to put on the top shelf to take something from the top shelf down.
Aye,
So like
that's the
recently,
thing. You'll buy it
recently,
to
yeah,
drink it. Sorry, you'll buy it to like drink it or whatever. Say top shelf stuff like my Winter Storm. We ended up trying your Winter Storm, and I didn't really think it was that great, so I gave it to your dad as a Christmas present, and
mm,
things like that. Like you don't expect not to open it, but then maybe you try it somewhere, or somehow you get a review of it. You see some reviews, and all the reviews are saying the same thing. Then maybe you think this isn't worth opening. I'll just get rid of it.
yeah. No, I think I think um, I've got yeah. I think the Bunnahabhain, and I recently got my hands on a 1983 Old Putney 33-year-old. Now, the answer to the question, I don't think I've got a whiskey that I would never open. I will never get round to opening them all, for sure.
Yeah.
So by default, they won't all ever get opened, and some of it will be my legacy and blah blah blah. But there's definitely some, like I've got an old tomato in there. The old yeah, I'm trying to ponder the
It's a hard
question.
question. I
It
don't
is
think
because I never actually, I don't think you ever buy a whiskey
not to
not to
open.
try it. I
Yeah.
think there are some. I think there are still. I think there are some whiskies where they're easier to open, and there are others where you really want it to be something special that you open it for, and
Mm.
and you want some special people around you, and a special reason for opening it. That to me is what it's all about. It's not all about never opening. It's about having the right moment and the right reason to open some of them.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because I'm seeing the comments coming in. Not about you, but so this is the build up to it. Oft. Good question, Tony. Right. Tony's Tony, Tony's questions are just too bloody hard. But we'll show it anyway. So this is for everyone in the chat and for us. Here's another one. First, Tony gives us the bloody, is there a whiskey you'll never open? And this is what he gives you now,
Oh,
right?
oh,
So when you're on your deathbed, when you're about to die, life is about to end. You're about to become nothingness. You're about to become one with the stars, one with the earth, and nothing else. All life has been meaningless. Oh, sorry, I'm taking this depressing tone. Anyway, what whiskey would you choose to be your last ever whiskey? If tomorrow the doctor said, from tomorrow you cannot drink, you cannot have any more whiskey, what would be your last whiskey? What whiskey would you choose to be your last? Doesn't have to be in your deathbed. I would say
from
if
from
the
your
doctor said to you,
from your collection today, because obviously my first instinct would be to say, I don't know yet because there's so many more I want to
right,
try. But if you're
Tony,
talking about,
Tony,
if you're
we'll
talking
give it.
about based on,
Sorry, we'll give it to Tony. Right? Is it what we've got in our collection, what everybody's got in their selection, or whatever, or what we've tried, or is it just any whiskey?
what you dream to have, yeah,
What you dream to have, yeah. Uh, so Tony's saying any whiskey you've ever tried. So it
ah,
can't just be one you dream of. Any whiskey you've ever tried. That is yeah. I'd say any whiskey you've ever tried. That's a good one. Your last whiskey. The doctor says to you, right, you've got some terrible bowels, terrible bladder. You can't have another whiskey for the rest of your life. You can't have another whiskey for the rest of your life. Your last whiskey's tonight. Enjoy it. You can only have one. Which one do you have?
well, I've not got any of it left, but I think I would have to go for. I think I would have to go for either the Glendronach 33-year-old that I used to have, or the Dalmore 1980. But I think I would go for the Glendronach probably.
So one of mine was going to be the Glendronach 33-year-old because I feel like it's one of the best whiskies I've had for a sentimental value. For the first whiskey, I realised that I really loved, and that's the reason. So it could be the Glendronach 33-year-old for me, but for what I've tried, oh, do you know what I really loved? And I could probably get it again. So it's a toss up between. Oh, this is going to seem. I feel like this is going to seem bad. It's not going to seem like enough flair. But yeah, the Glendronach 33-year-old or the Blair Athol 23-year-old old malt cask. Damn, I love that whiskey. Nothing outrageous, nothing horribly expensive, but just for me, I mean, I could drink the Blair Athol 12, 4 and Fauna all day, but the old malt cask 23-year-old, I just loved that whiskey. I fell in love with it from start to finish. I would just try to look to see if there's anything else, but I mean, yeah, I love a Springbank, I love a Long Row Red and that, but it's not one I'd say like I want that to be my last whiskey. It'd probably have to be that Glendronach 33-year-old. Or
I tell you the other one I would think of, and I would buy another bottle in a heartbeat because my one's finished, even though you've
yep,
just opened yours. Is the Weems
the Velvet
Malts
Fig.
Velvet Fig, even though it's a blend.
Yeah.
Man, what a
So
way to that is an elegant gentleman's absolutely fantastic dram.
that's the Daphne
So
Oloroso. Just going to go
so
through. Just going to go through a couple. Um, I was going to say a couple, but there's a few. So Mark's saying, what about the Explorer series? Will that be getting cracked? So I've been saying to Stevie for a while now, or maybe I've mentioned it to you once, Stevie, but I've been wanting to do a tasting set of my Explorer series and my Smuggler series to get them out there, to get people to try them. Obviously, pay to do it type thing, pay for my time, whatever. Um, not looking for much profit or anything, but I think that'd be good to get them out because I feel like the Smuggler series isn't something that's been um, experienced a lot. I don't think it's been tasted a lot. So I've had two of the Explorer series. I've had the first one, which is the Brodick Bay, and I've had the Lacranza Castle. Loved the Brodick Bay. Lacranza Castle was all right. But yeah, I would love to get them cracked, opened, and sampled between people. I think that'd be great to do. But it's
I
just the
think
logistics of things.
yeah, I think it's a good idea to do. I think it would be particularly for your smuggler series.
Well, it's the Smugglers and the Explorers. If you've done 6 drams per person,
Yeah, but I think
um,
in particular the Explorer series is relatively new, and who knows, there's probably
yeah,
still another one to come. But from the Smuggler series point of view, it yeah, I think it would be interesting to. Aaron's not a whiskey, I would say, that I've found like a great love for, but at the same time, I don't think I've tried enough. So
yeah,
I think the same with Explorer series. Think, I, yeah, I think it would be a good way to share it, to taste it, and then decide whether, yeah.
right. So a few comments. Mark saying, "I want more of that Glengoyne port pipe from Grant." Yeah, it was brilliant. So Grant sent us a port pipe Glengoyne. It was like £200 per bottle for a 15-year-old single cask. It was too much money, but the whiskey was fantastic. It was a fantastic dram. But I wouldn't pay £200 for it. But still, yeah, it was good. And he says, or the stolen 35-year-old Macallan from my mate. So I've supposedly got a stolen, or had a stolen 40-year-old from my mate, but it was definitely, it was like cast strength stuff. It must have been very young. It wasn't great. Tony's saying, for me, it's the 40-year-old Glendronach or the 45-year-old Glen Glasso. Yeah, Tony's had some exciting stuff.
Well,
Very, very exciting stuff.
has Tony got any of those left?
Yeah, Tony, send us a sample.
The oldest
Willie,
the oldest Glen Glass I've got 30.
30.
I've got a 1986. So I don't know how old that is.
So Willie's
Yeah,
saying
86 is 30-year-old as well.
Willie's saying a late 90s odd bin single Isle of Malt, Port Ellen, since we're playing fantasy dramming lol. Yeah, fantasy dramming, what a game. Chris Brown, have you had the Alt Dower 8-year-old bottled independently by Robertson's Pitlochry? So Blair Athol, know you love Blair Athol. No, I've not. And probably the reason why is I've had a independently bottled Highland apart from them. I think I've had an Island independently bottled Blair Athol, can't remember which one it was. And I do like Robertson to Pitlochry. I do like the guy that owns the shop, but at the same time, the prices are so well when you go in store, they're so far hiked for tourists. You can go to Drinkmonger. Yes, it's a branch. Yes, it's owned by Royal Mail Whiskies, but I believe at the time Drinkmonger were selling for example, Glenfiddich Winter Storm for £200, which was RRP, and Robertson's Pitlochry, which was literally a 3-minute walk, we're selling it for about 250, 260 or something. So they're a good shop. The guy that owns it, he's a nice guy. I do like speaking to him and that, but the prices for me are a little bit too high, and they're high because of tourists, which I've got no issue with. But it's not something I'll be buying into anytime soon because I'm not a tourist.
No, it's a good. It's a good point because I used to frequent the shop quite a lot, and I used to enjoy every time I went up there the blether with old man Robertson before he sold it to the current guy. But even when he had it was always, I want to buy something, but do you know what? I'm not going to pay an extra 10 or 20 quid because you're a nice guy. It's difficult. So
yeah,
and I think
it's got to be competitively priced.
Yeah, if they want to only sell whiskey to tourists, then good luck. If they want to sell whiskey to regular local people, then you need to do something different.
Yeah. So Ryan's saying my last dram would be a 40-year-old Pulteney, mind-blowing stuff, and it'd be great to send off.
Wow.
Ryan, we've decided it's not you're on your deathbed. We've decided it's just the doctor says you're fit and healthy, but you can't drink any more whiskey, so tonight's your last night. So no,
it's deathbed stuff. It's deathbed stuff.
Nah, deathbed stuff. Gaz is saying if we're going down the deathbed route, I'll be cracking Glover 22. Gaz, you need to have tried it before. That's the thing. What if you crack this on your deathbed and it's absolutely atrocious?
And it kills you.
It kills you. Tony's saying he's not got any of the whiskey left. I've only got 100 ml 100 ml of each. Oh, both long gone. So we got 100 ml of each of those. What was it? The 40-year-old Glendronach and the 45-year-old Glenglassaugh, and they're long gone, which makes sense.
Wow.
He's currently drinking a 30-year-old Glendronach, one for the road. So yeah, basically, Stevie, Tony lives somewhere close to us, and he has access to really old whiskey. So if you and I are up for ski masks and a kind of raid off somewhere close to us, we could maybe get some old whiskey.
No, but then he might ski mask and raid my place, so no.
I know, but I think he's got older stock.
Yeah, but then let's do it. Let's be gentlemen and enjoy it in the right circumstances. We're not going to steal the guys.
We won't steal it. We won't steal it.
You're a young hooligan, but hey,
Stevie, we won't steal it.
No.
We won't steal it.
You can climb in the window and open the front door, and I'll come in the front door.
Ryan says he think he'd rather die. So Ryan would rather die than get told by the doctor that he couldn't drink any more whiskey. Fair enough. The wine shop in the pit has stepped up to the mark. Does Willie mean Pitlochry? Does he mean drinkmonger? I'm not sure. Willie, what do you mean? Expand.
Willie,
is
tell us, man. Stop with the cryptic messages.
So Tony's laughing and he says he'll share what he gets, and he does. He's a very generous guy. Tony is. I've still got some samples sitting for you, Tony, and we need to exchange them as soon as we get a pint together.
I'll tell you many samples I've got.
Jimmy Tube, are you almost home yet? Are you finished working yet? You need to get a drink. My best stuff is below $300. I don't know if I'll ever be able to buy anything pricier. It doesn't matter what price it is. What has been your standout dram from what you've tried? That's all that matters. I mean, I've never bought anything over a certain price range that some other people have bought over. So it doesn't matter what price it is. It's whatever you find is most appreciative to your palate. And yeah, Willie's saying Pitlochry. So Willie, is the wine shop drinkmonger by any chance? I'm not sure what the wine shop in Pitlochry is. What did he say? He said the wine.
If it's the wine shop, it's going to be drinkmonger, I think.
It's got to be. That's all I can think. Drinkmonger. So Willie, when you go in, you've got the wines on your left, you've got the whiskies on your right, and you've got the ale at the far back.
That's
Tony says, remember you've got a Kingsman 2 and the Glendronach 30-year-old waiting on you. Yes, Tony, I
Oh,
remember.
no way.
I remember I've got those
I
samples
tried
waiting
to
on
get,
me.
have you got them, sure?
No. What I'm trying to say to Tony is, I remember I've got those samples waiting on me, but I do not currently have them in front of me. That's the only issue, Tony. But
Tony,
no,
don't waste them on him. Don't waste them on him.
so Tony's sending me he's sending me some excellent samples, and I'm sending him some samples I feel that are not going to live up to that. But yeah, I'm sending them samples.
I've been after a
Um,
Glendronach, either Kingsman or Gandrewer for a while, and just never.
no, so I don't
Never.
think. Sorry, Stevie. I don't think Willie's alluding to Robertson's. I think he's alluding to the Drinkmonger Royal Mile whiskies. Robertson's just the whiskey shop. So yeah, Willie's saying yes to the Drinkmonger. Mark's saying it's a Drinkmonger Royal Mile whiskies, which it is.
Yeah.
And Ben's coming away with, how's the Rosebank construction coming on?
Well, they've started. Sorry, sure.
There you go.
Yeah, they've started again. They hit a problem when they were doing some foundations. One of the internal walls was going to totally collapse on them. So during COVID, they had to stop anyway. But at the point COVID struck, they had hit this snag. I think now they've changed the design and the planning slightly, that enables them to avoid digging down into those founds anymore. So they started about 3-4 weeks ago, I think. So they were stopped for a while, and they've had to do a wee bit of redesign work to protect the original building, but they're back started again.
Aye. What we can see when you drive around Falkirk is basically just you can just see the big fences up, 6-foot fences. You can't really see much in. But it seems to be coming along. I do hope that they'll, when they release a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, whatever, I hope it'll be in line with current prices and not in line with Rosebank prices, because they can add a premium, but I just hope it's not going to be that way.
No, there's never going to be a cheap Rosebank that was produced in the old distillery. Never. So
no, but a decent price. It doesn't have to be.
It depends what they do with the new stuff.
So Tony, I walked past the other day on the way to Falkirk Vale. Yeah, you can't really see much change. Ben, I hope it's not a 1600. Yeah, what was it? They're 21-year-old or something. It's a bit ridiculous.
I think that their old stuff's going to be pricey, but when they get established, when they get built, and they start producing new spirit, then they're never going to be able to get off the ground at those prices. So the old stuff, the old stuff is going to increase in value, and there's nothing we can do about that. Buy what you can just now, buy what you can afford to buy just now, and it's a good investment. But end of.
Yeah, but like they can't. Rosebank can't. They can't seem to think that they'll come out. I couldn't think of the word. They can't assume that they'll come out on the market and sell a 12-year-old for 90 quid or something like that just because it's Rosebank. It needs to be in line with the current market projections. Like, they can't just say it'll be an honest statement. It's got some 3-year-old in it, or they wouldn't say that. They can't say it's an honest statement. It's got some of the old distillate in it and sell it for £140, which they probably will,
right.
And people will buy it. People will buy it up. But
how much does a Daft Mill cost when it comes out?
About £100, say, for a normal Daft Mill.
Right. So Rosebank's got a cult following. So what do you think will happen?
Yeah, I'll probably sell, but I think the thing with Daft Mill is it's smaller batches. It's a smaller release, whereas Daft Mill can release at a volume. That I just don't think. I don't think they should be trying to sell.
I think what you're saying is, I hope they don't. I think they're in a position where they can, and I do hope
Yeah,
they don't. But it's like Daffmill, who've got no cult following, it's brand new spirit, and look what people are paying for. It depends on the
well,
quality of the spirit that comes out of Rosebank. But
yeah, but
remember,
I think,
Rosebank's got a cult following, which is worth
yeah,
something already.
yeah, that's what I mean. I think they will. I think they'll overcharge for average distillate, whereas Daffmill, for me, is great spirit, great whiskey, and I'm happy to pay the price that comes along with it. It's like it's just a farm estate. It's small numbers, whereas Rosebank is a proper distillery that can produce at large, and I reckon they will take the piss. And it won't be something I'm buying into unless it's a good price. But I don't think it will be.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to remember, Ian McLeod has invested in this. He'll be looking for a successful return on it. The if he prices his whiskey out of most people's pocket, then he's not going to achieve that. So I reckon it'll be sensible. I think it's just the old stuff that will get more expensive. The
Yeah,
whole
I'm not sure.
nothing much has changed at the distillery because of COVID. But now they've got a redesign. COVID's free. I think it was about 3 weeks ago they started work again. And they found a way round without destroying the wall that was going to come down if they went into the found. So I think it's
Yeah,
to
I think
answer the guy's question. They're just starting again. It's been stopped for a while.
what Jim Tube's saying is, do you believe Rosebank will produce anything reminiscent of traditional Rosebank at some point? Probably at some point they might, but I think because of um, their position in the whiskey world, because of their legacy, because of what Stevie says, their cult following, they'll be able to produce absolute cack, and people will buy it.
I disagree. I disagree with that. Why would you invest all that money to produce shit?
No, but
I don't know.
I believe they'll be able to release youngish whiskey, package it up, and they'll be able to sell it because it's got that cult following. They could sell anything because it's got that cult following, because it's got that name, because it's Rosebank. Whereas, in fact, actually, yeah. So Gazzy just said Daphne had 12 years premiumising the whiskey and the brand before it was bottled though. They could have been bottling dishwasher and the first bottle would have flown for big money. It's exactly it. You look at Nook Nean, um, their organic release. Not that great a whiskey, £45 is going to auction for £320. Ardnamurchan, £45 initial release is going to auction for double that. Whereas Daft Mill took the time to produce a good malt. Yes, they sold it for £100, and yes, it's going in the auction for 1500, their inaugural whiskey. But what I think the difference is, Rosebank will be able to do what any whiskey they want, and I think it will just sell because it's Rosebank.
Remember, Rosebank traditionally was never an absolutely amazing whiskey in the first place.
No,
it's just got a cult following because it died and it's been resurrected. There's one Rosebank I ever tried. I think it was a 21-year-old a long time ago, and it was really nice. But most others I tried was rough. So Rosebank has never been associated with a, it's not like the it's not like the Dalmore of the Lowlands or whatever.
no,
It was never an amazing whiskey. It never existed in an era where whiskey was as popular as it is just now. It's got a cult following because it's shut and it's going to reopen, and it's kind of like any other closed distillery, like Petit Veich or any of these places. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was an awesome whiskey when it was open.
no.
It's just purely because it's rare and cult.
Tony says he thinks the same as the new Falkirk Distillery. Going to buy their cask prices, the bottles won't be cheap. Aye. So Falkirk Distillery's cask prices are absolutely insane. compared to cask prices you can buy from already established and well-known
Yeah.
distilleries.
Hey,
They're obviously wanting.
Look at the difference between, like, so they're going to produce a whiskey called Catcher's Bray, which is about $4,000 a cask, and then the one they're actually going to market as Falkirk Distillery, the sherry cask one is, what was it now? Was it 10, 12,000, something like that for a cask? So the cheaper one you could be tempted to go for, but actually it's not going to be the one that people remember as from that distillery, because it's a pseudonym for, it'd be like it would be like Glenfarclas producing an offshoot of whiskey called, I don't know, Speyside, blah blah blah.
Aye.
So,
right,
I'm
going to nip to the toilet. You keep the chat going. You keep it going. 11k for a sherry cask is an absolute joke. Yep. Ryan saying, very keen to see what the release will be like. Curious to what Instead will release, being a mixed bag of everything. Tony saying, whiskey broker were selling new make Ben Nevis and all types of casks for 1,500 last week compared to Falkirk Distillery. Yeah, it's a bit of a price hike when it comes to Falkirk Distillery being a new distillery, wanting to obviously get their overheads and stuff. But I'm going to go for a toilet for a PP, and Stevie's going to continue to speak to you, and we're going to have one for the road.
I've had my one for the road. This is the one for the road, and this is the one for the road.
Oh, have you? All right. Well, we can end it here if that's what you want.
Well, go for a piss and hurry up, and then we'll wrap it up.
So you want one for the road?
No, I've got one. I just poured one for the road.
Right. I'll go, and you keep speaking about independent bottles and all things like that. I will try and put a comment up that will. There we go. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. There's a good one to tackle.
Aye, I think you've got it spot on. Whiskey, like everything else, whether it be wine, whether it be cars, whether it be anything else, there needs to be something for everybody. And my worry about the whiskey industry is that they start to take the price in the wrong direction, which means that it's like people getting on the property ladder. Well, they can't get on the whiskey ladder because to get there, it's like they've got to pay like 80 quid a bottle. Who's going to do that? They need to be careful, I think. They need to produce something that is, the average man's price point. I think it's good to have different product for different parts of the market. The interesting thing about whiskey is that actually, you know what, you can get an absolutely fantastic 10-year-old that knocks the sock off a 21-year-old. So what am I trying to say?
I don't know. I've been listening to you full time though. I see what you're trying to say. You need the accessibility, the affordability for people coming into it, and for all ranges. You can't just have it for the high earning lawyer or whatever over in Asia. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean I'm trying to think now. Good comparison.
It's all going downhill for Rangers. It's all going downhill.
Yeah, who cares? There's
you know.
the Longmorn entry bottle, and I can't remember what it costs. Let's just say it's 40 something. But it's as good a dram as some malts that I've paid 100 quid and more for. So
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, they need to find a way of putting good quality whiskey into the different segments in the marketplace. So, and it can't be that you put the shit in the cheap end and then slightly better in the next one. It needs to be more, and it can be more balanced than that, because there's some cracking whiskies out there that the distillery can make a profit on, without breaking the bank of folks like us. So there's whiskey where they can make profit on 40 quid a shot, and they make money on that, and it's an absolutely fantastic whiskey. So I don't think there's any reason why there should be a point where it's they force whiskey outside of the pocket of average Joe. There's no reason to do that other than greed.
Yeah. Are you having a last for the road, or are you finished?
I'm having to go with after my independent bottling Glenallachie. I'm having my one for the road, the real one for the road after that, and the road beyond that, which I forgot about.
Because I'm empty, and that's me. I'm empty.
But you should stop at that, because you can't hold your drink. You'll be cuddling the toilet all night.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, well, I think we've covered a lot tonight. I hope it's been a relaxed atmosphere, chill atmosphere. I hope someone's learnt something. I know I've learnt something. Yeah, I hope we've had a good time. Been a max of 32 people in. We're averaging at the moment 18 people, so it's good that people are listening to us. It's good to speak to people. I love having the engagement, and it's just like a pub. It's like seeing everybody. It's like going down for a drink, so it's good because we're all currently locked down and it's a bit boring.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that Stevie and I can invite you into our little pub. At the end of the day, for Stevie and I, it just feels like a talk between the two of us at times. But we've got the added pleasure of speaking to you guys and adding your dynamic into it too. So hopefully that makes sense.
I think that's what's important for me, is that it's not about you and me. We create the platform, and I don't know if we've got a good balance or not on it yet, but it's just having. I want to know and learn more about what other whiskey drinkers know and like, and what their experiences are. So I think I'm not so sure we've got the right balance yet, and it doesn't matter. If it works, it works. But that's it's not about you and me. You and me are the sort of central point, but I'm no sitting here claiming to be an expert in any way, shape, or form, which is why when the guy said, "Who, in your opinion, independent bottler produces the most solid malt?" I can't answer that for you. I can only answer, in my experience, what I like. That's all I can answer.
Yeah.
And I think.
Yeah, I like it. It's you and I speaking with the added dynamic. Other people talking, getting their interests in, knowing what they're on about. So yeah, I enjoy it, and we'll continue to do it regardless of numbers, regardless of whether you like it or not. We'll always watch it. So Whiskey Games has just came in rather late, but yeah, it's good to see you. We're pretty much wrapping up.
We need to have another one for the road for Whiskey Games.
Yeah, this could go on all night. Willie's saying, yeah, take care, guys. Ryan saying just in time for Roy. And one last note from GGM Tube. The industry as a whole is riding on such a high. On average, the typical single malt 15-year-old and up is actually already priced over what a regular Joe could pay. 10 years old and being sold at 80 is crazy. Yeah. Good wrap up from yourself, better than us. Ryan says, well done, Stuart and Stevie, the celebs. Good chat. So yeah, thanks for joining us. We do appreciate it. We do appreciate engaging with you guys, and it's always fun for us. So cheers.